Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Thanks for checking it out if you're new. I know this video is way late, and that's because my SD card got corrupted and I lost the footage. And I've been postponing refilming this. I debated scrapping it, but I want to do it. So if you're new around here, What I Watch, Read, and Played is a series where I go through everything I watch, read, and played during the month that we're talking about. For this one, it's January. And I just talk about and recommend some stuff, or maybe not recommend some things. This was a series I did last year, but paused during the 2023 writers and actors strikes. And I maybe didn't have to stop, because this video is ultimately subjective and my own opinion. But I decided to stop in solidarity with the writers and actors, and to ensure I wasn't promoting any work that shouldn't have been promoted during those strikes. So that being said, we're back in 2024, fresh start with January. Let's get into it. Starting off with the movies I watched, the very first movie I watched this year was The Color Purple. This is a 2024 remake of the classic film from Steven Spielberg, which is an adaptation of the book. And this movie itself is actually an adaptation of the stage play, the musical. Yes, a musical. And I liked this movie a lot. This is the story of a young woman and her struggles with sisterhood and abuse and just the everyday downs of life. I really liked it. I thought the music was really great. I thought the performances were really great. It really shows how stacked the awards season is this year, that this movie isn't getting the love that maybe it deserves, because there's so many other great movies from last year. So then continuing on, we have Mean Girls 2004. My friends Phil with 1L and Morgan M. Steele introduced me to Mean Girls. I was aware of it. I've seen the memes, I've seen the TikToks, the Twitters, etc. But this was the first time I ever saw the movie, and I really liked it. It's really funny. Has it aged gracefully? No, there are definitely some jokes that are not right. But overall, I did enjoy the movie. I thought it was really funny, and I could see myself rewatching it from time to time here. Then we all took a big old road trip together to go see the new 2024 Mean Girls. This, similar to The Color Purple, funny that they came out so close together, is another book to movie to musical to movie again. And so this is based off of the Broadway musical. And I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It's okay. It didn't really change a lot of things like I maybe thought it would. Like, it did just feel like Mean Girls, but with music. And from what I've listened to of the Broadway recordings and maybe some slime tutorials, the movie doesn't do the best job adapting some of those songs. And if you were to ask me which Mean Girls should you watch if you've never seen it before, I would say definitely watch the 2004 one first. And then if you're interested about the musical twist, go check this one out. The original is now streaming on Paramount Plus, and so will the new one soon. Then, feeling nostalgic, I checked out Justice League: Crisis on Two Earths. This follows the Justice League as they find themselves at odds with themselves from another universe. This being the crime syndicate of America, Ultraman, Owlman, Superwoman, Johnny Quick, and Power Ring. And I really liked this movie. I love the DC animated movies. Are they all great? No, but this is one of the early ones before they tried to build it into the DC animated movie universe. And this is just a standalone movie, and I really liked it. In fact, I learned after the movie that this was supposed to be a pilot for Justice League Unlimited. The bridge from Justice League to Justice League Unlimited. And you can see the bones that version of the script still exists in there. Obviously, it's not fully intact. But I thought it was interesting after watching the movie again after so long oh yeah, that does line up. That movie's streaming on HBO Max. Go check it out if you haven't. And then because of award season, all the nominations, I revisited Barbie. What's there to say about Barbie that hasn't already been said? This movie's production value is crazy. I love practical effects. So this movie was pink, pink, pink. They just made everything pink, and I love that. Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling are very funny in the movie as Ken and Barbie, and the movie actually does have a pretty heartfelt message by the end that I don't think any of us were expecting from the Barbie movie. It's now streaming on HBO Max and even has an ASL interpretation of the movie, which is really cool and inclusive, and we love to see that. Continuing with movies that should have been nominated for Oscars, we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem. This is a reimagining of the Turtles as young children, actually voiced by teenagers this time. And it follows your usual turtle story where they come across a group of mutants who are going to terrorize the city, and they have to put a stop to that. And this movie's done in that comic book art style of Spider-Verse, because if you don't know, the Ninja Turtles are comic book characters. And I really love this movie. It's special. It's really fun. They let the teens ad-lib, and so they are saying things teenagers would say. And it's a really fun movie. They just teased recently the animated series that's coming to Paramount Plus. The movie is streaming on there right now. And so I can't wait for that show, and go check out this movie if you haven't seen it already. Heading back over to awards season, I went and saw, finally, now that it's playing near me, Poor Things. This follows Emma Stone as she plays Bella Baxter. Bella is a bit of a Frankenstein scenario. I won't go into spoilers. The less you know about this movie, the better. But Bella is the result of a science experiment, maybe gone wrong. But it's a movie about Bella exploring what is the meaning of life and womanhood and sexuality and trying to find all those answers that we all are still trying to find ourselves. This is a great movie. I love Emma Stone's performance in this. She's winning all the awards, as she probably should. Go check out Poor Things. If it's playing anywhere near you, I'm sure it'll be coming to digital to rent or buy soon. Then we have another one, American Fiction. This is a story of a young author named Monk. And Monk is sick and tired of people not buying his, real books, so to say. So he writes a fake book. That's a fake biography about himself. And he writes a black book, as he says. And so it's a comedy, but it's also a drama. There are serious matters that are touched on with Monk and his family and their relationships. But overall, I would say it is a funny movie. I think Jeffrey Wright does an awesome performance in this movie. And I think, like I said before with The Color Purple, it just shows how packed this award season is, that this movie is almost slipping under the awards radar because there's just so many great movies this year. I mean, just look at best, I want to tell you, Jeffrey Wright should have gotten Best Actor. But then you've got Paul Giamatti in The Holdovers and Cillian Murphy in Oppenheimer, and it's just an insanely stacked year for everything. But American Fiction is one of Wright's best performances. I liked it a lot. I thought it was fun. Go check it out if it's playing near you, or if it's on digital by the time you're watching this. Then, because of the new Suicide Squad game, I have fallen into a bit of a Suicide Squad hole, exploring all the old Suicide Squad movies and games and books. So I watched Batman: Assault on Arkham. This movie, if you don't know, is set in the Arkhamverse, or at least it was. More on that later. So this movie follows Task Force X as they're assigned to infiltrate Arkham Asylum, the setting of the first game. This movie came out in 2014, which was before, the Suicide Squad became big with the David Ayer and the James Gunn movies. So I think they put Batman in the title just because they weren't confident it would sell. But yeah, definitely a fun little Suicide Squad adventure that I would say check out if you're at all interested. Don't go expecting, the Arkham lore, because it's not canon anymore because of the new game. A video about that coming soon. That movie is now streaming on HBO Max, as well as another Suicide Squad movie, Suicide Squad Hell to Pay. This is a Suicide Squad animated movie, not set in the Arkhamverse, but instead set in the DC animated movie universe, which is their big, New 52 continuity line. without going into spoilers, in this movie, Task Force X is assigned with obtaining a supernatural artifact, and I'm sure you can think of maybe some supernatural DC villains that they encounter along the way. And I think it's a really fun one. I think there's some interesting dynamics on the team with members who aren't in the other movie, like Copperhead and Killer Frost. Bronze Tiger is a cool addition to the team. I know he's a classic member, but he hasn't been in any of the other movies yet. And so both of those are streaming on HBO Max. They're both cool. They're both short, like 90, 70 to 90 minute movies. So give them a check out when you got time. And then I closed out the movies I watched in February by watching the 2 Deadpools. I am really excited for Deadpool and Wolverine, also known as Deadpool 3. But yeah, just Ryan Reynolds talking about it, and they wrapped filming, and then now we've seen the Super Bowl trailer. I had it when I watched those movies, obviously. But we knew Hugh Jackman's Wolverine was in it. They showed us the photo of his suit, and so I wanted to go back and rewatch those old Deadpool movies before the third one. And they hold up so well. They're so funny. Comedy is hard. It's easy to just fall into fart jokes and profanity, and that is what a lot of Deadpool is. But also, I think these movies do have heart and charisma and character. And I really liked them. They've definitely got their own continuity. It's easy, like how we joke about with the X-Men. The Fox X-Men movies were always messy with continuity, but those Deadpool movies feed right into each other, and it's seeming like Deadpool 3 is going to come right out of Deadpool 2. So I am excited. I love those movies. They're now on Disney Plus or Hulu, depending on your country or region. So check those out if you haven't. Or revisit them, because they really are funny. Are they the most high-budget movies? No, but they're definitely a good time. Moving on to TV shows I watched in January. I watched a lot of TV in January because it's a slow month. Studios don't really put movies out in January and February. So I watched a lot of TV. Starting with, I continued my journey into Classic Who, the first season. I am taking it slowly but surely because there is a lot of it. You see, Modern Who, they're the 40-minute episodes, but they're pretty much one-off stories that might have little teases to an overarching story. Versus Classic Who are huge multi-part arcs. Yes, they're 20-minute episodes, but then you have 10 episodes for a storyline. And it's oh my god, I don't think I can watch, Journey to the Center of the Earth Part 9 right now. I'm tired. But I do think it's interesting. Barbara, Susan, and Ian have grown on me as companions. And the first Doctor, I hear he gets better. But yeah, I do think it's an interesting comparison to look at this show compared to where the show is now. I will continue to watch at some kind of pace. Like I said, especially with the missing episodes, those really slog you down because it is oh no. I gotta just either watch still images or listen to it like an audiobook. So, yeah, quite the journey. And it's a little bit of a bummer about those missing episodes because some of the best storylines, I really liked Marco Polo. But that's a lost story arc that is just still images or an audiobook. But yeah, Classic Who, at least in the US, is streaming on BritBox. Moving over to Apple TV Plus, I watched Monarch, Legacy of Monsters. This is a show set in the Monsterverse universe. The Monsterverse? I don't think you add universe to the end of that. That's the universe established by things like Kong Skull Island, Godzilla 2014, Godzilla vs. Kong. And so this show follows the founders of Monarch back in the 1940s, and it flashes between present day and the 1940s. And just the founding of Monarch, generational trauma with some monsters sprinkled in. Is it the most exciting show at times? No. But I do think the mystery is interesting. I find the stuff in the past actually more engaging than the stuff in the present. Like I said, it flashes back and forth. They do something funny with the Russells where they have Kurt and Wyatt Russell playing the same character. Wyatt is playing the young version in the 40s while Kurt is the old version, present day. But yeah, a fun little show on Apple TV Plus that I would say check out when you've got time. And then moving on, I love Apple TV Plus now because I watch Schmigadoon, both seasons of Schmigadoon. This is a musical series following a couple who, while they're having some relationship struggles, end up in the magical town of Schmigadoon. This is a town based off of things like The Sound of Music, and they sing. You know, the town has this musical effect on all of its residents. And it's revealed that this couple cannot leave Schmigadoon until they find true love, whether that be with each other or a new resident of Schmigadoon. It's a really fun series. It's very short. Each season, there are 2 seasons so far, consists of 6 20 to 30 minute episodes. So it's a very quick binge. You know, I watched season 1 one night and I watched season 2 the next. Then, moving on over to Disney Plus. I watched the newest entry in the MCU, and that's Echo. This follows Maya Lopez, a character originally introduced in Hawkeye, in which she travels back home to reconnect with her family and figure out who she is and what her plans are for the rest of her life now that she's free of Kingpin, or so she believes. I think this show is a whole mixed bag. I think the action in episodes 1 through 3 is cool at times. You know, the fight scene with Daredevil or the whole roller rink. Episode 3 in general is my favorite of the series. It's only 5 episodes. Again, no spoilers. But I think it falls off really hard in like those last 2 episodes. I think episodes 1 through 3 are pretty fun, or an enjoyable little story, and then you watch the last 2 episodes and it remembers it's an MCU TV show and it has to set up the next thing. But yeah, short watch. It probably needed another episode or 2 to really flesh out what they were trying to do. It feels very rushed by the end. The show wasn't necessarily Marvel's Andor like people were thinking, but I do think it was a step up from shows we got last year like Secret Invasion. I recently rediscovered my love for comedy from watching the Deadpools, and back in December I watched all of What We Do in the Shadows, and I love that show so much. You know, I've thought about just talking about that show on the channel somehow. But I continued that comedy journey this month with Schitt's Creek. I watched the first 2 seasons. If you don't know, this is a show about a family who ends up, they're originally a very wealthy family, and then, you know, tax scandals and all that finally catch up to them. Eventually they end up broke, and they land in a town they bought as a joke years ago, Schitt's Creek. And so it's the journey of the, you know, riches to rags as they adjust to normal life, you know, life for the rest of us. And it's a really fun show. Comedy can be hard. I think the show is really funny, and it's pretty heartfelt. Like I said, I've only seen the first 2 seasons. I've got a lot more of the show to go. But overall, it's a quick binge. They're 22-minute episodes. So I may well have it done by February. Who knows? Probably March. And then over on Disney Plus, we have Percy Jackson and the Olympians, which was a whole mixed bag of an adaptation. Overall, I did like the show. It's way more accurate than the movies. But at the same time, I also feel like they made changes, and some things were because of budget. The show does feel cheap. Like there's a lot of cutting away from action or reducing action sequences from the book. And they have addressed that is because of budget. Certain characters didn't make it in because they couldn't afford to, you know, do the makeup or create a CG model. And so I do think it suffers in that sense. But overall, I think it captures the general heart of the series. I don't think anything will recapture the magic of the book, though. I love the 3 kids that they cast, you know. I love the 3 kids that they cast as Percy, Annabeth, and Grover. I think they work really well. They have great chemistry. And the show just got announced for Season 2 for Sea of Monsters. So let's see what they've got over on Disney+. I actually have a whole video planned to talk about Season 1 because of I love those books so much. So stay tuned for that. I finally watched Rick and Morty Season 7. I am I guess one would say, a casual or passive fan of Rick and Morty. I don't seek it out. I don't talk about it on Twitter or theorize. I just watch it whenever it comes to HBO Max or Hulu, whatever streaming service it is on in your country. I thought season 7 was pretty funny. There were definitely some episodes that were my favorite, like the Quat or the Spaghetti episode. The Spaghetti episode really sticks with me. If you've seen the show, you know. I also love that they replaced the original voice actor for Rick and Morty because he was a bad person. And what they did is, instead of changing the characters, they simply found sound-alikes. And they sound really good. Like, there are some moments where you catch where it's like, oh, I would have maybe done a second take of that. But overall, they sound the same. If I didn't know the T, I wouldn't have noticed. But I do think season 7 of Rick and Morty was pretty fun. And if you're at all curious, check out that show at some point. I know it can be a lot, but it doesn't really have to be. You can just watch it. When it comes to reading, I didn't do a ton of reading this month. But I did check out Ultimate Spider-Man #1, the new reboot of Ultimate Spider-Man. This is a grown adult version of Peter Parker who has married MJ and has 2 children with her. And he's not Spider-Man at this point yet. He becomes Spider-Man in this new series. So I am really excited about this. I get tired of characters getting stale or stuck in the same loops, I hate when characters aren't able to evolve. So I love the idea of, yes, let's see what adult Peter with a family, with MJ, what does happy Peter Parker look like? It's a #1, so it's not like there's anything crazy going on. But I think it is an interesting start to this story, and I'm curious to see. We've got Kingpin and a new Green Goblin introduced as villains. So let's see what this Peter and his rogues gallery have in store for us. Then, of course, because of the show, I did reread Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief, the first book. This is my very well-loved copy. That is the movie tie-in, because I have to give the movies the credit of they did introduce me to the books. That's how I grew to love them. And so what's there to say about these books that hasn't already been said? This book is so special to me, and I couldn't even tell you why. I just love it. I have always loved Greek mythology, and so the fact that it is, children, especially at the time when I read it, when I was a child, way back when, to see these 12-year-olds go on basically the Odyssey was so cool. And that's why it was cool to see the show this year. And again, why I plan to do a video where I kind of talk about why I love the book and maybe didn't love the show as much. With that being said, if you haven't read these, go read the Percy Jackson and the Olympians. They are available anywhere. Like, if you use the online library app Hoopla, I know they're on there. I use Hoopla so much for comic books and things like that. Looking at video games that I played this month, my friends and I checked out Lethal Company. This is a game where you are workers for the company, in which you have to go collect scrap on distant moons and uninhabited planets that actually might be a little more inhabited than was believed. You are hunted by monsters while you're collecting scrap. Think kind of like Phasmophobia, but not really. This game is really fun with friends. You can play with random people online, but if you have, at least in the base vanilla game, it's 4-player, you can mod it to more. But this game's really fun. I did post a video, a session of my friends and I playing. Just a quick little mini session we played on New Year's. I am still, unfortunately, playing Overwatch. I can't seem to break it, no matter how much the game breaks me. No, I'm kidding. Overwatch Season 8 was definitely a mixed bag. They added Mauga to the game. He broke the game for a while. Then they nerfed him, and now he's useless. The usual Overwatch cycle of characters. As a tank player, I did enjoy him when he was broken. I'm gonna fully admit that selfishness. But now I'm back to Ramattra, and Zarya, and Orisa. The same 3, because the other tanks don't work. If you don't know what it is, Overwatch is a 5v5 hero shooter in which you have to capture an objective. So a hero shooter is a game where each character has like their own unique abilities or weapons. And so Overwatch, I think, is arguably the best hero shooter out there. But boy, do they like to mess with their game. I also, because it was on sale, checked out Marvel's Midnight Suns. This is a turn-based Marvel RPG in which you create your own OC, and you and the Marvel's Midnight Suns, so characters like Blade, Ghost Rider, Magic, and Nico from the Runaways, have to fight Lilith, the mother of demons, and all her little monsters run around, as well as some iconic Marvel villains. I think it's a fun game, especially after playing a lot, maybe too much, of Baldur's Gate. It was a nice transition to then play this turn-based Marvel game. You know, you draw cards, and then those cards have moves. You have a select number of moves each turn. You have to strategically place your characters. I think it's a fun game. It's definitely not for everyone. The cutscenes in the first act are maybe way too long. Like, I fully admit, I dropped the game for a while, and then I picked it back up because the cutscenes for the first few hours of the game, you know, you do one mission and then you sit through 30 minutes of cutscenes and you're like, oh my god, let me play the game. But when you do get to play the game, it's really fun. I also checked out, because I'm a fan of the series, I checked out Assassin's Creed Mirage. I think this one's okay. It's definitely, it was supposed to be a step back, you know. The last few Assassin's Creeds with Origins and Valhalla and Odyssey, they all moved closer to the RPG elements, versus this game was supposed to be the like step back to the classic Assassin's Creed. And I think it does step back to that classic Assassin's Creed, while also still having some of the modern problems of Assassin's Creed, in that we do have to evolve these games. If they're going to keep continuing, they have to grow. They have to add more features. I also think the story is really boring in this game. I haven't finished it because I keep checking out and coming back to it after a week of not playing it. Yeah, maybe check if you're a fan of the Assassin's Creed series. Maybe check it out when it goes on sale, like big sale, like cheap. If you're at all new to Assassin's Creed, don't play this one as your first game. It will turn you away. You know, you've got the Ezio collection, or you have any of the other. You know, the Assassin's Creed games are pretty much standalone at this point. So you could play Syndicate, Valhalla, Origins, Odyssey, any of those ones. And then if you don't know, my friend Natalie on this channel has been playing through Batman Arkham Asylum, and she finally finished. Yes. And watching her finish and play this game made me really miss the Arkham games. So of course, I reinstalled and played Arkham City in like a night, because I love that game so much. I have it memorized. It's just such a great Batman story. It's so simple but complex at the same time. So many moving gears. And that game for me has a special place in my heart. It's such a simple Batman game versus maybe Arkham Knight flew too close to the sun, and then Asylum was not complicated enough. I will constantly love Arkham City. If you don't know, this is the sequel to Arkham Asylum, where Batman finds himself trapped in the supervillain Arkham City, as he then faces some of his most popular villains that weren't in the first game, like Two-Face and Penguin and the Joker and so forth. I don't want to spoil it. But definitely, you can get those games on sale pretty much always. And pretty much the only way you can own it now is the Game of the Year edition. So you get all of the content. Then I pre-ordered the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League game, so I did get it in the early access in January. And I have made a whole video on my thoughts about that game. You can go check that out on this channel. But I have mixed feelings about the game. I do overall like it. I do find it fun. It's very Destiny-like in the gun gameplay and the special abilities. I don't think the story is as bad as everybody makes it sound. I do not like the ending. I won't go into spoilers here, but I go into full spoilers in that video. But I don't like the ending of the game. And now that I've finished the story and I'm doing the end game content, because this is a live service game, so I'll be probably playing it every month for the next year or however long they support it. So every month or so, I think it's every 3 months is a new season. They're going to be adding content. Like next month in March, we get the Joker and his storyline. And I do fully admit that right now, after having finished the story, there is a bit of a lack of content. Like I do log in and I do some missions and I do some loot runs, but overall I am starting to run out of new things to do in the game. So yeah, maybe check that one out at a later date when it's more complete. I don't love the live service games. I wish we could somehow move past them. But finally, the last thing that I checked out, the last thing I played in January was Pal World. Say what you will, I know this game is steeped in controversy. But if you don't know, this is Pokemon with guns. You go around, you catch pals. They're called pals. And these pals then can be used to work in your camp. Like you might have to go catch an ice pal to operate your freezer. And you might have to catch a rock pal to mine for stone. A grass type to log and get wood for you. It's an interesting little game. It's very simple, but it does... I don't think I would play it by myself, but I do have a group of friends who play, and I do find some enjoyment in playing it with them. But so yeah, that was everything I did in January 2024. I'm hoping that February's video won't be as late as this one. Again, the video got corrupted, so I am sitting here now in February re-recording this. But yeah, plenty more content to come on this channel. Just from the things I've watched and played, they give me so many ideas, so many things I want to talk about. So let me know in the comments down below if you've watched, read, or played anything I talked about today. What did you do in January? Let me know in the comments below. If you liked what you saw here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you know when the next one's coming. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.